Ladies and gentlemen, the bidding is open at sisterhoodsleuths.net, and the lots are nothing short of priceless. Early release books you can't find in stores, VIP experiences with Kathy Warshaw, limited-run collectibles that vanish in hours, private author messages you'll never see on social media. And while the prizes are on the table, so is today's masterclass. Welcome to the Sisterhood Sleuths podcast. We're cracking open the 6 essential steps to writing a mystery that hooks readers from page 1 to the final reveal. From crafting a premise that grabs like a headline to planting red herrings that mislead even the sharpest minds, this is your blueprint to becoming the sleuth behind the story.
Imagine this, a quaint, sort of fog-drenched village, secrets everywhere, right? As thick as the morning mist. Then, seemingly ordinary Monday morning, but wait, the vicar's prize roses, trampled, and his rare antique pocket watch, vanished from a locked study. No forced entry, no witnesses. Just this lingering scent of almonds and a single raven's feather. Perfect. Every good mystery kicks off with a puzzle like that, doesn't it? Something irresistible, a question just hanging there, begging to be solved. Who did it? Why? How? But what if the real mystery, the deeper one, isn't what happened, but how the whole thing was actually built? Today, we're not solving that crime. Instead, we're cracking the code of its creation. We're opening the case file on the blueprints of suspense itself. Welcome to the deep dive. Consider this your shortcut to being really well informed about, well, the nuts and bolts of mystery writing. Our source material today, it's excerpts from How to Write a Mystery Novel, a step-by-step guide for beginners. That's by Kathy Warshaw. Came out just this past June. So we're going to treat this guide like its own unsolved case. You know, piece together the steps an author takes to build those page-turners we love.
That's exactly the plan. Think of this deep dive as our own little investigation. We're getting into the mind of the mystery writer. We'll break down the essential steps, the building blocks for constructing a really compelling mystery. And understanding this stuff, it isn't just for people who want to write. No, it's for anyone who loves a good story. Anyone who wants to appreciate the sheer craft behind that suspense, keeping you glued to the page. Our goal, to give you those aha moments, realizing how those plots that seem so effortless are actually built clue by painstaking clue. It's about seeing the architecture underneath it all.
Okay, let's get started then. Like detectives arriving at that foggy crime scene, where does a truly captivating mystery begin? Is it just like a bolt of lightning inspiration? Or is it something more deliberate, more foundational? Because Warshaw's guide seems pretty clear. It all starts with those core questions. Who did it? Why? How?
You're right on it. That initial instant, the first piece of the puzzle, is what the guide calls the compelling premise. This is the central crime or the mystery that gets everything moving. Could be a murder, sure, or a missing person, a stolen artifact, even our vicar's trampled roses and vanished watch. The guide really emphasizes this premise has to be engaging. It needs to hook the reader right away. But here's where the craft really comes in. It needs to be designed with enough wiggle room for twists, and of course those red herrings we love trying to figure out. It's not just a static puzzle. It's more like a playground for the author to mislead you.
Right, so it can't just be any mystery. It needs that spark, that unique fingerprint, as you say. But isn't there a danger there? Like, if you try too hard to be unique, does it risk feeling, contrived, or maybe pushing away readers who actually like the classic feel? How do writers balance that, being unique but still meeting expectations?
That's a really important point. And the source gives us our first real clue into the craft here, a key tip. It says, ask yourself, what makes this mystery unique? Is it the setting? The victim, the sleuth, the motive? See, it's not about throwing in gimmicks for the sake of it. The real skill is making sure that uniqueness feels essential to the story itself. Like if the setting is unique, say, an isolated research station in the Arctic, well, that automatically limits suspects, changes how you investigate, creates new kinds of suspense, doesn't it? Or if the victim or the motive is unusual, it can explore deeper psychology. This uniqueness, it's the first vital clue to a strong story. It sets it apart from all the others out there. And that's what makes you, the reader, want to dive into this specific investigation. It should feel organic, not just tacked on.
Okay, makes sense. So, once that crime scene is set, premise established, unique angle found, a good detective, and I guess a good writer too, immediately looks at the people involved. I mean, a mystery isn't just what happened, it's who was there, and maybe most importantly, who's going to figure it all out. Honestly, it seems obvious characters are key, but what is it about a detective or maybe an amateur sleuth that really hooks us, makes us want to follow them through that maze of clues and lies? What's the secret sauce there?
Well, exactly. You start looking at the people. The guide points out that right at the heart of any great mystery is the detective or the amateur sleuth. This main character, they need a strong reason to get involved. It can't just be, oh, I guess I'll solve this. It needs to be personal, maybe, or driven by this deep sense of justice, or maybe just overpowering curiosity. But it's not only about the hero figure. The source broadens that out. It talks about the antagonist, all the suspects, even those side characters who seem minor at first. And the key insight, the guide says, is that each of these people needs to be well developed. They should all have their own motives, secrets, and potential for deception.
So it's not just about who could have done it based on opportunity maybe, but who might have had a reason and why they would act that way. That creates this whole web of possibilities, right? But okay, beyond just having motives, how do authors actually use character development to ramp up the suspense, keep us guessing about everyone?
Precisely. And what's really interesting is how the guide advises using that character development specifically to deepen the suspense. It actually tells writers that readers should question everyone, even the hero. Think about that. By giving even seemingly minor characters their own secrets, their own hidden agendas, maybe things not directly related to the main crime, but things they definitely want to hide, the writer can constantly shift our suspicion. It means you, the reader, are always a bit off balance, never quite sure who to trust. It's not just about waiting for one big twist at the end. It's about these continuous little twists, these doubts that come up through how characters interact. It really makes you think about trust, about perception in stories. You become an active participant, second-guessing your own judgment about everyone, even the person leading the investigation. It's a really smart way to embed doubt and keep that tension simmering. Because the characters aren't just pawns, they're walking, talking bundles of secrets.
Okay, this is complex. So a well-plotted mystery novel, the source calls it a jigsaw puzzle. And every puzzle needs a blueprint, right? A master plan. We know authors plant clues. But how do they actually do that? How do you plant clues and, maybe more importantly, mislead readers effectively without making them feel cheated later when the truth comes out? That sounds like a really delicate balance.
Yeah, it really is. This is where the meticulous work comes in, piecing together the evidence, laying out the actual timeline of the crime. The guide details the essentials for good plotting. First, the author has to decide when and how the crime happened. That's the foundation. You got to know that first. Then, they need to create a timeline of events. That's crucial for keeping everything consistent internally. No contradictions. And then the really intricate part, designing a clue trail that leads to the truth, but not too easily. The real art in planting clues, I think, is making details seem significant only in retrospect. Often they're hidden in plain sight, or they seem totally unimportant at first glance. It's about guiding the reader towards the solution without them even realizing they're being guided. That makes the aha moment so much more satisfying, doesn't it?
Totally. And what about those moments, those glorious moments where you think, aha, I've got it, only to realize, nope, you've been expertly led down the garden path, the red herrings. How do authors make those convincing enough to fool us, but not so wild that they just feel frustrating?
Yes, the red herrings. Can't have a mystery without them, really. The guide specifically highlights adding red herrings to mislead both the characters and readers. The trick isn't just throwing in random false leads, though. They have to be internally consistent. They have to feel believable within the world of the story. Often, a really good red herring serves a double purpose. It misleads about the main crime, sure, but maybe it's tied to a character's other secret or their own misunderstanding of events. So when the real culprit is revealed, the red herring still makes sense in hindsight. It wasn't just random noise. Planning all this out in advance is absolutely key. It maintains the suspense, and it ensures that by the end, by the climax, everything connects. Surprisingly, maybe, but logically. It's like the mastermind behind the puzzle, making sure every single piece fits eventually, but not before sending you down a few very enjoyable rabbit holes first.
Okay, so we've got our compelling premise, we've got intriguing characters loaded with secrets, and this carefully laid trail of clues and misdirection. What does that all mean for the story's overall shape? How do you structure this whole investigation, this narrative roadmap for the reader? The guide seems to lay out a pretty traditional path, a clear structure.
It does, and it's a structure that's really stood the test of time for mystery novels. It often mirrors how a detective works a case step by step from the first call to closing the file. It starts, naturally, with the introduction. This sets the scene, introduces the key players, maybe our poor vicar, the quiet village, the missing watch, establishes the norm, then boom, the inciting incident. This is where the mystery is officially revealed. The body's found, the person vanishes, or, the trampled roses and stolen watch confirm something's definitely wrong. This is the official start of the case, the moment the detective essentially gets the call.
Right. The game is afoot, as they say. And then comes the bulk of the work, I'm guessing?
Exactly. Next up is usually the longest part. The investigation. This is where the protagonist is digging in, interviewing suspects, finding clues, following leads, often hitting dead ends, having to circle back, finding new angles. It's the real detective work, gathering evidence, quiet observation, lots of thinking. Then things start building toward the climax. This is where the truth finally comes out in the guide notes, often with a twist. This is the big reveal, the moment all the pieces suddenly snap into place, usually in a way you didn't quite see coming. The solution to that stolen watch might be way more complicated than simple theft, right? And finally, you have the resolution. This is where any remaining loose ends get tied up. The case is officially closed. No nagging questions left unanswered. Oh, and the guide also mentions choosing the point of view, first person or third person. The key thing is it should allow readers to uncover the truth alongside your sleuth. You want the reader to feel like they're part of the investigation, seeing what the detective sees. That's crucial for building suspense.
We've all been there, haven't we? 2 a.m., telling yourself just one more chapter, and suddenly it's dawn. Mystery readers, we love suspense, that thrill of the chase, the tension just building. So, beyond the plot and characters, what about the writing itself? What are the practical techniques authors use to actually create that relentless buildup? How do they keep us hooked, turning pages frantically until 3 in the morning?
Absolutely. It's all about manipulating tension, like a conductor leading an orchestra. Knowing when to speed things up, when to pause for reflection, and when to hit those sudden sharp notes. The guy offers some specific techniques here. It advises keeping chapters relatively short and ending scenes with mini cliffhangers, little questions, little reveals. That creates this constant forward pull, urging you to find out what happens next. Pacing is also huge. Authors should alternate between, say, intense action and slower introspective moments where your protagonist analyzes the clues. This rhythm, this ebb and flow, stops the reader getting exhausted, but also gives space for those crucial deductions. Gives you, the reader, a chance to breathe, but also to think alongside the detective.
So it's not just constant high-stakes action. It's more dynamic, a push and pull, using quiet moments strategically to make the exciting parts feel even bigger.
Precisely that. And to really pull readers in, the guide stresses using sensory details and emotions, making the reader feel like they're right there. What does the detective see?
Hear, smell, feel. Like that lingering scent of almonds in our opening mystery. It draws you into the scene, connects you to the sleuth's actual experience. And then there's the golden rule, really. Don't give away too much too soon. This is the art of strategic revelation. Doling out information carefully to keep the suspense at maximum, making every discovery feel earned, feel impactful. It's all about ensuring the reader experiences the mystery right alongside the sleuth, uncovering each piece of the puzzle just at the right moment. Wow. Okay, so after all that incredibly meticulous work planning, character building, plotting, writing with suspense, there's still one final crucial step: revision. This sounds like the final check before the case file is stamped closed, making absolutely sure no stone's been left unturned, no crucial piece of evidence missed. What should authors be looking for during this final interrogation of their own manuscript?
Right, before you declare the case solved, you have to interrogate the evidence one last time. The guide details some critical revision steps to make sure the mystery actually works, that it holds water. First, authors have got to meticulously check for any plot holes or inconsistencies. There's almost nothing worse for a reader than a mystery that falls apart logically at the end, right? It feels like a letdown. It really is like going back through all the evidence piece by piece, ensuring it all points correctly, no lingering doubts. They also need to ensure that all clues make sense in hindsight. Every detail planted earlier has to click satisfyingly into place once the truth is out.
Makes sense. And what about polishing the actual reading experience itself?
Well, beyond just the logic, they need to tighten up pacing and eliminate unnecessary exposition. That means cutting maybe lengthy descriptions or big dumps of backstory that just slow down the investigation when things should be moving. Think, show, don't tell, right? Let the clues, the dialogue, the action reveal the world and the characters, rather than just explaining everything flatly. And finally, strengthening those character arcs and emotional stakes. This makes sure the reader stays invested in the people, not just the puzzle. Oh, and the guide also points out how valuable external feedback is. Beta readers, writing groups, getting objective eyes on it to see how well your mystery holds up. Okay, it connects back to that critical evaluation, making sure the case is airtight before you present it to the public, essentially. Ensuring that final reveal lands with the maximum impact and coherence.
Wow, okay. We've really kind of unlocked the mystery of how these incredibly compelling page-turners get put together. From that initial crime scene, the premise, right through to the final interrogation of revision. Understanding these steps really does make you appreciate the sheer art of storytelling, doesn't it? Whether you want to write one yourself or just, curl up and enjoy reading them, it's a genuine craft.
It really is. We've sort of cracked the code, haven't we, on how to build these fascinating puzzles, clue by deliberate clue. So now that you've got this guide, this sort of inside look at the elements of a great mystery, how does knowing all this change the way you read? Or maybe watch your favorite detective shows? What hidden clues or maybe red herrings might you spot next time you dive into a fictional mystery? Could you maybe even start to see the author's blueprint beneath the surface? Something to think about. We definitely encourage you to reflect on that craftsmanship behind the next captivating story you pick up. Maybe even try to solve the mystery of its making as you go along.
Your manuscript might take months to write, but the rewards waiting at sisterhoodsleuths.net could be gone in minutes. Free books, VIP access, collector's merch, insider messages. They're all on the block right now, and once they're claimed, they're gone for good. Visit sisterhoodsleuths.net, join the circle, and leave today with more than just writing tips. Leave with the tools, the access, and the prizes that make you part of the sisterhood.